Would you like me to solve solve the education problem and the student debt problem? I would like to solve that for you now. Would you like the solution? Here it comes. Here's a Republican solution for college debt. Now, this won't help you immediately with existing debt. So existing debt, maybe that's a bigger problem. But in terms of future debt, future students who have to take out big loans, etc., I'm going to tell you how to fix that. Now, there are two kinds of college educations, roughly speaking. One kind is the immediately employable kind of things. Let's say you're trying to be a doctor or some kind of technology worker, let's say a STEM type person, engineer, etc. Those kind of jobs, well, you can kind of pay for your loan because those are such good jobs that you can take on a little bit of a debt. You'll probably get a good job. You can handle it. But what about all the people who are taking on gigantic debt for generic degrees? Now, generic meaning, let's say you got a BA in English history or something like that. It's not directly applicable to a high-paying job. It just makes you generally better qualified for lots of different things. You don't know exactly where your career is going to go. That's a lot of people. Here's what we need. We need one college course that I'll call I'm going to give it a name just for conversation. Let's call it a life strategy degree. Just that's a working title, not a good title. A life strategy degree. And let's say that the government, the federal government, blesses it as being an accredited college degree. And then the components of this are just all of the things that would be useful for a really powerful talent stack. So a talent stack is when you intelligently layer useful talents together so that you have a powerful person. Let me give you some examples. So the degree course would not look like anything you see now. Normally when you have a major, you've got some generic classes you need to take, and then there's specific things like how to be an economist or history. So it's not like that. Instead, it's everything that works together to make you powerful and effective as an adult working person, and even as a parent and everything else. So, for example, you would have as a requirement how to learn how to speak, how to be a public speaker, because it's applicable to just about all kinds of stuff. You would learn how to write like a business person writes, not the way you write a novel. If you want to learn to write a novel, this is not the degree you need. But to learn how to write short, clear, crisp sentences, very powerful. So you add that to ability to speak. If you just had those two classes, you'd be ahead of most people by the time you were done. And then you can imagine the things that you would add to that. For example, I would have a class on persuasion, and that would cover everything from marketing to sales to one-on-one conversations. So persuasion, because it fits with every job. You might have classes on literally social interactions, how to meet somebody, how to network, how to be a friend, how to be a friend. We should have a class on that because these are learned skills. You could learn how to make friends, how to keep friends. You could learn how to be a better parent. You could learn fitness. You could learn, the basics of staying healthy and eating right. Because all of those things make you a better employee. They make you more employable. I would include financial literacy. Thank you. Somebody is suggesting that was on my list. So financial literacy, basic economics, plus the basics of how to get a mortgage, how to balance your checkbook, how to make sure you budgeted correctly, etc. On top of that, maybe a little bit about how to start a business. Now, you don't need a 4-year degree on how to start a business. I could probably take you through the basics in 1 semester. And after 1 semester, you would see at least all the parts, and then you could look into them as you needed. So, for example, If I were teaching you how to start a business and I said, the first thing you need to do is get a lawyer, and a lawyer will help you decide if you're an LLC or a S corporation or a corporation or a Schedule C type of business. Now you say to yourself, I don't know what any of that means, but you know what to do. Go get a lawyer, and the lawyer tells you which of those you're going to be. So you don't need to tell people the details of how to start a business. You tell them where to start. Get a lawyer, ask him which one of these entities you want to be, and then the lawyer sets it up for you. Or you could say, how do you find employees? So you teach them how to find employees. Or, how do you estimate whether your business will be good? So you teach them the basics, they can work out the rest. I would teach them at least one language, but it would have to be a useful language. A useful language. How many people do you know who are taking something like Russian or German, but don't have any intention of being international translators? Okay, those are useless languages. Now I'm exaggerating. Some people do need to learn those languages because they might be dealing with markets there, etc. But for most people, if you're in the United States, learn Spanish. I'm going to say something that you're going to hate. If you've got a kid in the United States who's taking a language in school and they didn't take Spanish, they took another language, they took French, you have failed your child. If you let your kid take a French class when they could be taking Spanish in the United States, you've failed as a parent. You have wasted their time, and you've taken the time that they could learn something that would be a valuable life skill, completely affect your employability, your social structure, everything. Yeah, and learning Latin might be the least useful of all. So you can imagine now that this class of life strategy I'm describing would have some design elements. You'd learn how to make a PowerPoint, how to design something for marketing purposes. When you're done with this life strategy course, how employable would you be? Because if you want to hire somebody, and if you told me that somebody had completed the course with the classes that I'm describing, if you told me that I could hire somebody with that bag of skills, unless I needed somebody who had something very specific, such as a specific technical skill, I would love to hire that employee, because that's somebody who has a talent stack that's the best stack of skills anybody's ever seen. And it would allow them to go different ways. Now, how does this solve student debt? Because once the government has said this bag of classes constitutes a degree, and we, the federal government, will validate that that's a powerful and useful degree, you can put that all online. Because once you've limited the number of classes that matter to, let's say, maybe there are 30 classes that are really the powerful ones to have a successful life. If you get down to about 30, then you can also start making them online. Now, they already exist online, but the online learning world is sort of fragmented, etc. But if the government said, here's the deal, these 30 topics these are it. These are the 30 topics everybody needs to have. Then suddenly there would be all kinds of people entering those fields to create great topics. Now, somebody still has to pay for it, but if it's online content, what does it cost to go to college when you're only taking it online? Well, you can reach lots of people. And so maybe you can take an entire class for $10, an entire semester of, let's say, how to be whatever, writing or whatever, $10, maybe. So that's how you get to free college. You could make people who are far more capable humans and far more complete and far more capable with the most powerful power stacks you've ever seen in your life for way less cost. And if the government says this is valuable, then employers will too. So that's the way I'd go. That would be a Republican response to say, look, we didn't ask you to take on a loan last time. Now let's tie this back to student debt in the past. Suppose it costs you, let's say the market rate is $10 for a class. I don't know what it really would be, but it's going to be low. Let's say it's $10. Let's say that the government says, on top of the $10, which covers all of the profit for everybody involved, on top of that, we're going to add another $10. So it's going to be $20 per class. Still so affordable that everybody can do it. It's just $20 a semester for a class. The extra 10 could go to paying down student debt that has gone before. So you might actually create a new system that's so cheap you could double the cost and use the extra profit to pay down past student debts in some way that seems equitable for everybody. I don't know what that would look like. Anyway, that's a capitalist, conservative, low-cost path toward free college that would make more sense. And the best thing that this does is it cuts through the total BS, which is the college experience today. The current college experience is about networking. It's about putting a certification on you that, oh, well, you got into this college, you must be at least this smart. And then a lot of classes that don't have much use in your life. So if you had an actual college course that was only useful stuff all the time, I think eventually the market would recognize that as something better than some generic degree at some private college. Now, could you network as well? I think you could, because if enough people were taking this life strategy college, there would be, some of them would be local. And if you lived in a city, probably a lot of them would be local. And a lot of them would be taking the same classes at the same time as you, so you could get together. So there might be, as part of the process, networking and socializing online and then in person if you want, with other people on the same path. And I think that would give you everything you want.